This is the 8-9 combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones, and this is the Weekend Post-Mortem. Hello, mate. How are you doing?
How's it, my friend? I'm sitting on the shores of the River Shannon. Behind me is a very old church, or it may not be old at all because everything in Ireland looks old about a year after it's built.
You're coming into us from County Limerick right now. This is, I don't get to say this very often, but this is new territory for the pod.
Listen, I have to correct you now, my good friend. It's the province of Limerick, and I'm on the shores of County Clare looking at County Tipperary. I'm not a long way from Tipperary. So those are counties within Limerick, and they'll get very cross if you get it wrong.
Oh goodness. Okay, my apologies to the good people.
It's fine. There's so many permutations of history here that you can offend everyone with no matter what you say. So it's okay.
Yeah, right. Makes perfect sense. We're looking forward to the Weekend Post-Mortem and pulling out the big results from all the big games around the weekend that grabbed us across the weekend. There were hard-fought wins in the URC, surprise results and return to form in the Premiership. There was some big wins and some extra time madness in Super Rugby, plus the top 14 in France and Major League Rugby as well. But before we get into another Weekend Post-Mortem, I tell the nice people all the way from Ireland there why we would love them to subscribe to the 8-9 combo.
Oh, it's getting better and better. The world is made the way it is.
We're getting better at this finally.
No, it's like sometimes you're better than what you seem to be later, but the numbers do seem to make a difference. So, for example, with 5,000 subscribers, coaches are happy to sit down with you and chat forever and ever. But if you have 5 subscribers, they don't like it so much. So, Can you help us? Get you better content because the world likes numbers. That's
true. It's a pure black and white stats game is what we're at. So if you are watching us on the 8-9 YouTube, and so many of you are, just hit that red subscribe button right down there in the bottom corner. And if you're listening to us via Spotify, via Apple Pods, any of the pod platforms, then like, follow, subscribe, whatever it happens to be. And make sure you do not miss a minute. Let's get into the leagues, mate. And we'll start with the Irk whilst you're all over there in Ireland. It was an interesting old round. There were 6 of the 8 games won by the away team. I thought was interesting to start with. The Sharks consolidated 4th with an 18-17 win over Edinburgh at the High. Makazole Mapimpi with the try in the 18th minute to win it. Benetton are now 5th. After that win over the Lions, 42-31 at Ellis Park. Dion Faree has gone down, and there's a bit of a question mark over him in the Stormers win. But you went to Thomond Park to see the Bulls triumph 16-13 in a damp but physical clash that drops Munster to 7th.
Yeah, now, excellent pronunciation there, my friend, on Thomond. Because as you know, we're in the part of Ireland where is not respected. So you hear things like 33. But it's sort of also got some exceptions. So I'm trying to figure those out. Yes, I'm a guest of the Foley family this week. Brendan Foley is the chairman of Munster Rugby. His lovely daughter, Orla, is trying to she's taking your role in wrangling me this week. So you can imagine.
Best of luck, Orla. That's all I can say. Best of luck. I could have helped in advance. I'm just saying, but anyway.
Yeah, I think she's probably sleeping in today. Really enjoyed the small town of Killaloe, which is 24 k's from Limerick. Everyone here is a Munster supporter. Obviously, her late brother, Anthony Foley, Axel Foley, died prematurely in Paris. It's his father, his sister. The shadows of yesteryear are everywhere. Every pub you go into, there's a corner with a big jersey number 8 with the incredibly affable, wonderful guy. Axel, everyone who knew him loved him. And I think in general, the mists of history are really close by. So you go on a walk, you go on anywhere, there's a plaque or there's a history thing, and Thomond Park is one of those places where it's a proper fortress. No one goes there and wins easy. If you're gonna win there, you probably didn't score that many points. Probably what happened is you kept Jack Crowley, Craig Casey, Ty Byrne, and those guys to a lower score, and that's how the Bulls did it. They went back to old Bulls. I was at captain's run, and literally Jake and some of the coaches and they wrote me in. We're talking about cross kicks. And on a slippery field, slippery ball. It rained for like 48 hours. The low cross kick. It's sort of a risk reward.
Yeah.
Both sides were using it, and it was brilliant to watch Kanan Moody up against another Lekkerback, Thacker Abrahams, all the way from Cape Town, playing in Munster. The crowd was glued to it because it was a close match, but it was not a thrilling end-to-end display. It was 43 kicks this way and 38 kicks that way, and it was the chase, it was the tackle. When it came down to it, there was a passage of 2 minutes and 23 seconds where the Bulls just tackled and got up and tackled and got up and tackled. And then the whistle went and it was done. And fair play to Munster crowd. There was a proper party in the suite afterwards. Good crack. You would have not known that they lost the match, even though they were bitterly disappointed on the inside. Yeah. The Irish just will not stop the party. Really beautiful ground if someone wants to go, because it's so accessible. There's a horse in a field just outside the stadium. So, just things that you don't really see in most major venues.
Didn't you talk to us about a horse in a field outside a stadium only recently this year?
It's the same stadium. It's the same stadium. But I thought it was a one-off, but the horse is still there. And it was there were two horses, so we made a friend. So just on the numbers, because you like the numbers, the Bulls have now this season beaten all 4 Irish teams, which has never been done.
Right.
And the Bulls also were the first South African team in the history of the ERC, the very short history of the ERC, to beat Munster in Munster. Munster does not lose in Munster very much.
First South African team to win
in Munster
at Thorn Park. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's good. I've seen some. I haven't seen a full replay. I've seen some highlights of this game, and it looked physical and it looked hard and it was wet. There's no question about it. And I'm looking through images and things to try and find a great summary of the game that we can potentially use on a YouTube thumbnail and all that. And I end up finding this picture here, which I think just summarized the contest perfectly. And for our podcast listeners, we're looking at there's obviously a bit of a set to at one point, and it's just, push and shove and all that. But it's that's one of the Bulls props, I think, trying to lay into Conor Murray, and there's someone behind him pushing another guy. And it just looks like it looks like both teams just met halfway and just started.
Yeah, Zvilko Low is one of the largest humans on a horizontal plane. And then you have the coach, Andries Becker, one of the largest humans vertical plane. But the bull I had always been scared of, like one of the few people, I just don't walk around scared that much. And I was scared of him, Kubas Visa, because he looks like a killer. So we ran into the bar after the match. He bought me a beer. We talked for like 20 minutes, and he couldn't be nicer. He's the nicest guy in the world. And I said, "Hey, I've been saying that you're the scary monster of all monsters." And he just had a chuckle and he said, "Nah, I'm a sweetheart."
Yeah, I'm a changed man. Talk to me about Dion Foury's injury. There's a concern about his future now. Suddenly.
It's very bad. And probably if he was 22, maybe you can talk about the long road back. But I think at his age, and almost a miraculous end of the story that he wrote for the 2023 World Cup, you could see that a family or a friend or somebody might come to him and say, "Hey, brother, it's good." It's a long road back from an injury. He's definitely out for the year. And I think it's easy to say that I'll get back now. It's the postseason and the preseason work and the grind that sometimes you go, I don't really have to do this anymore.
That's going to be the question, isn't it? Whether at that age, whether he's still got the motivation to actually go through the rehab and then go through another preseason and then put himself through all that again. That's a fair question. Elsewhere in round 15 this weekend, Leinster and Glasgow secured their spots in the top 2 with wins over Ulster and Zebre respectively. Leinster was pretty comfortable over Ulster. Glasgow won 14-6. It was a pretty hard fought-old sort of game in Italy as well. And the table is interesting. I've not got a graphic to put up, but Leinster's a long way ahead. We know that. Glasgow's 9 points behind them, 4 points clear of the Bulls in third. There's then another gap.
Who play them next week?
Yeah, right. True. So there's an early games of the week candidate already. The Sharks are then behind them on 49 in fourth, and then you have 8 teams between Benetton in 5th and Connacht in 12th in a gap of 41 to 35 points. So there's 8 teams fighting out for those. Now, funnily enough, there's a little bit of a gap between the Stormers in 8th and Scarlets in 9th. And I actually wonder whether we're starting to see a little bit of separation there. But yeah, they're all.
Well,
we'll see the next week or two.
My baby Stormers finish up all at home, so that was actually an important, but always heart-dropping win over Connacht, because it sets them up for a final 3 matches that are not very difficult on paper.
Yeah, right.
And with Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu playing out of his skull through a hat trick in the first half. I mean, literally at one point, the scoreboard, to be cheeky, the Stormers' social media posted, Sasha 21, Connacht 14 or something. You and some big boys coming back. You would think Stormers are well placed. Sharks are frustrating for their fans, but they're probably they're okay as well, because Eben came back and big boys coming back. The Irk definitely, I think you're right, has a tier now that's emerging. But the thing is, it's all about planning or getting to the point where you're not going to play the wrong opponent in the quarterfinals. So it's all setting up for that. So Jake was talking to me in the kitchen of Thurman Park, actually, and he said, we have to win. Like, we have to beat Glasgow. It's not only is a score to settle from the final last year, it sets us up if we can get to that point. I joked and said, so you're trying to avoid the Stormers, 3 versus 6 or something. He didn't like that.
Harry, my friend, but the reality is we are not afraid of the Stormers.
But they really are, I can tell.
Yeah. Well, so next week, as a little tease, the Friday night games in the Irk next week is Glasgow Bulls, that's 2nd v 3rd, and Cardiff v Munster, which is 6 v 7. So there's 2 ripping games, unfortunately, simultaneous kickoffs. Come on, Irk, you've got to fix that. That's silly. But anyway, that's an interesting old little scenario next week. It was round 10 of Super Rugby, and there was again some interesting little results there. A James O'Connor penalty in the 82nd minute secured the Crusaders' 25-22 win over the Blues in Christchurch, played in biblical rain at times. The Fijian Drua remain unbeaten in Lautoka. The Waratahs had a losing bonus point and then lost their way completely in the last sort of 5 or 10 minutes, and then they end up conceding penalty try, which then lost them the losing bonus point in that 28-14 win. The Brumbies were more comfortable in that 24-0 win over Moana Pacifica than any commentary suggested. The Chiefs are back to top form with that 46-10 thumping of the Highlanders in Hamilton. They led 13-10 at half-time, mate. That was a second half thumping is what that was. And then the Force and Hurricanes just lost their collective minds in a super time free-for-all where there were just no laws adhered to or upheld. And so a 17-all draw after 10 minutes of extra time seemed about right. That was not sure how much of Super Rugby you saw this weekend, but there was some mad games.
Yeah, the timing is perfect. In Europe, it's breakfast rugby, and people quite like it. I found out that there's a whole tribe of people that enjoy starting their Saturdays watching Super Rugby. I thought that the fair was more enjoyable because there was some really close matches. I felt like the competition is getting in earnest now. There's seems to be more niggle, more spice, more cover tackles, more scrambled defense. Your Brumbies are setting themselves right. They've even made some strides in an index that we'll refer to later in the week. But I actually thought that those gritty win with James O'Connor putting over the kick. I mean, I know it was right in front and such, but it's still, you got to make the kick.
It was 40 meters out though.
It's one that had he missed, we would have said he choked. So it was that makeable. But the look on his face and the celebrations that got around him, the sheer joy. It did feel like the fucking Crusaders are back. We've been saying that, but I think we can stop saying that now. It's like they are here, and they probably never left. And I know we're going to talk to someone this week about what it might have felt for a year to be in the anomaly year. But that looked interesting. On your super thing, I gotta say, I'm not sure it's a jeer, but oh my God, the commentators telling the fans as we started the super period what was crucial and what was not crucial. Oh, the key here is to hold on to the ball. I'm like, if you get the kickoff, actually what you need to do is a high, long drop kick that lands in coffin corner, meaning that the other team either tries to run out stupidly and you win, or they kick it right back to you. You launch a line out or you run it back. You do not need to build phases forever and ever from your own off. And then they kept turning around. The commentators kept turning around about, oh, this is the crucial thing. That's the crucial thing. In the end, there was
this
a
is
play.
The crucial thing now.
There was a play to win with a drop kick. And I did think the commentator was right. I forgot who it was, and said, that is not something that on the fly, impromptu, you can launch. There is a way you build those things, and you've got to put about 25 reps in a practice and scenario painting, because it looked like we don't know what we're doing. That was the way to win. And kudos to Donaldson for nailing the kick that even made the draw possible. But drop kick. My kingdom for a drop kick.
Yes, exactly. So I had a social media interaction with someone on Sunday, and they said, but they really not, would they really not practice, some kind of drop goal play? And I said, I'm sure they do, but I am also quite sure that there is no kind of match simulation scenario that would replicate adequately the kind of sheer mayhem that was in play in those last 10 minutes. Like the breakdown was already a mess in this game. In the last 10 minutes, it just became an absolute quagmire. And again, I was looking at images to try and sum up this game. One of the images I found, there was literally a pile of 6 bodies and another 4 standing around that.
And it was a mess.
And that was indicative of most rucks in extra time. It was just
and so here's why that's important, because the commentator said the weight of the pressure is going to weigh on the defending team with each succeeding ruck. And it's actually the other way around.
Yeah.
Building a drop kick, you want to go early, like Frawley and Durban, or almost all the drop kicks that you can think of where they won. There's anomalies like Johnny Sexton's 25 phases.
Yes.
You usually go early because your ruck is wider and there's fewer people on the stampede, and your guys are getting tighter and tighter of cleaning rucks with each succeeding ruck.
Yeah.
And you get so narrow that in the end you are in a wind tunnel trying to kick a drop goal. And so I think there was a phase, I think our friend Jeff Parks talked about on the other side, that the Kiwis could have put one up as well.
They did, yeah. They went. They took their shot. Ruben Love took his shot a drop goal, which ultimately hit the post and went dead, and that was the end. He took his a lot sooner. They got down the other end relatively quickly. Played, I'm going to say, no more than 7 or 8 phases, and then he hit a shot. Whereas the Force started wide and they went right to the other side, and then they almost went right back to the other side, and then went, oh my God, we're nowhere near this. So then they just went around the corner, 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 around the corner. And suddenly they'd held on to it for 22, 23 phases, and they were
dying
half a meter at a time. And so at that point, the Canes defenders and back rowers were just sitting off the ruck, just waiting for Donaldson to kick.
Exactly.
So as soon as the pass goes through, Peter Lakai just belted through. I mean, wasn't even just got a hand on it. He full on took the ball in his body. So it was,
it was like one of those slow motions, like, and now I'm going to kick a drop goal. It was so predictable. I don't know. I think the scenario painting, if you're going to have those kind of, and you would think that it's going to be more and more of those as the season gets to business end, is the team that can hold its nerve, the team that can execute. So I'm kind of giving praise to the Crusaders, even if it was sort of a weird way to win, is because I always felt like they were going to win.
I think it's
the practice.
I think, and I'll, this is my very non-critical, non-experienced mind saying this, but I would think it would be a lot easier and a lot less pressure to try and build yourself into position to kick a drop goal in the 77th, 78th minute than it is in the 88th or 89th.
Yeah, sure.
In sudden death. So, and that was only the third or fourth. That's the first Super Rugby Golden Point draw that's ever been. It's the first game of extra time this year. Excuse me. It's nearly 100 games since the last one. There hadn't been another one since before, so around 8 last year, and I think there was only 2 last year. So it doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen very often at all.
You could tell that because I think you said that didn't you say the captain didn't even know?
Jeremy Williams. Yeah, he was expecting that there should have been 10 more minutes. And then Brad Shields, the Hurricanes captain, post-match said, and we're just looking at a picture of both teams just completely just out
kissing
of it.
Their sisters.
Oh, God, that's a draw. Brad Shields post-match said something about that he thought actually it probably should, we might actually need more time for this. And he even thought that, having had a bit of experience in England and European competitions, he even made mention of, I wasn't sure whether we were going to like a kicking competition or what it was. So, perhaps a little bit more comms around how Super Point is supposed to work. But again, the table is now a little bit interesting because the Chiefs and Crusaders are on 32, the Brumbies are 28, and then they are 5 points clear of Queensland in 5th, and Force 22, Waratahs 21. They're 3 points clear of the Hurricanes in 18th. Then you got the Blues 17, Highlanders 17, Moana 15.
Do the Reds have a game in hand or no?
They do, yeah. They just had their second bye on the weekend, so
okay,
yes, they've now got a game in hand over everyone.
You got four teams that are pretty narrowly bunched.
You've got 3, and then you've got 3 is what you've got.
Yeah.
There's a bit of separation happening there as well. So and then the 3 New Zealand teams just on the edge are less than a win away from 5th and 6th. So, these next couple of weeks are going to be interesting.
The Force has a really murderous row. They just had the Canes, but then I think they run into like Chiefs, Crusaders, Brumbies, right? Or something like that.
Yes, something like that. They've got the Blues in Auckland.
Oh, Blues
this week coming. I think and then they're back in Perth for the Brumbies. Yeah, that's it. So it's a hard road to come, that's for sure. It was round 14 of the Premiership in England. Northampton have continued their European form with their 1 point win over Newcastle on Friday night. I think that was. They led 35-15 after 57 minutes though. So Newcastle certainly got back to within close. Bath led Exeter 26-10 at half time and held on to win 26-24. Sale are now into the top 4 with that 43-29 win over Quins in London. And then Saracens scored 24 unanswered second half points to beat Gloucester 36-14, and Bristol Leicester is obviously still to come as well. So Sale, that's a good win. I watched a bit of that back this morning. That second half was really, really impressive from the Sharks.
Look at the scores, and it's been all season. People joke about Super Rugby and its scores, but look at Premiership. Premiership's been a super high scoring game. If teams are not scoring 3 or 4 tries, they don't win. I would say that's a worry for Saints to be struggling against a real dog biscuit. I mean, that the Falcons have not been troubling anyone, so that's probably a worry. But I think in the end also, and probably Bath would say the same thing, is like a win is a win at some point. Just get something on the board and keep moving, because it's a parity league. It's not as parity as Super Rugby, where there's only one team that you sort of expect to win if they're not at home. There's probably 2 teams like that in Premiership, and there's one struggler. But I think Leicester Tigers probably are the ones that are the most hurting right now. They are right there on the bubble. Gloucester,
so
right with them.
They've temporarily dropped out of the top 4, but can go back in, obviously, if they happen to beat Bristol, who are second. So Sale will stay in the top 4. I think there's a little bit of separation there though as well. The 4 teams outside the top 4 have all had 6 or 7 wins, and then Exeter, Newcastle are well below that at the bottom. So Northampton are sort of in that grouping now, but they're going to need they're 10 points away from 4th, so they're going to have to go on a hell of a run now to get anywhere near back near finals territory, which is going to take some doing, I think. Top 14, round 21. Lyon are in the top 6 now after that 32-23 win over Montpellier, and also Clermont's lost to Toulon. La Rochelle beat Bayonne 29-28. That is their first win since January 5 in any competition. So, there's maybe there is some life in La Rochelle yet.
Just to pick on a good Munsterman, Ronan O'Gara, the coach of La Rochelle, just gave a 23-second press conference before this, just showing you the tension that he has on him. That was, I'm out. And I'm out. Done. That's it.
Yeah, right. So, 4-point gap between Lyon and Clermont in 6th and 7th. So that's that same sort of separation that I think we're starting to see there. Japan League One, the top division of League One, is what I actually mean in saying that, resumes next weekend. There were Division 2 and 3 games played this weekend, but it was round 6 of Major League Rugby. Seattle and Chicago 6-game winning streak with that 28-22 win. Miami notched the second straight win, beating Old Glory, which was finished tight but was more comfortable than that. The goddamn Sabercats just held on over Nola Gold, and Utah Warriors handed San Diego their 4th straight loss now, 31-18. They beat them in San Diego.
I think Utah and Miami both been showing a lot of good things. Part of that's, for Miami, it's cohesion. They have a core of players that have played together in schools in Argentina.
Argentinians,
that's showing, and they have a leader. I think Utah, they're playing a very physical brand of rugby. I think, once again, maybe the common element here is all the leagues seem to have quite a bit of peloton parity somewhere, and the former, untouchable leaders are not quite as untouchable.
They've been pulled back,
except for Leinster probably, but in every other league there's a bit of a drag down there. And then I think also right about now everyone's getting just a little bit scared and nervous, and coaches are getting short-tempered.
Losing their everyone's sort of looking over their shoulder, looking at trying to stay in touch with what's in front, what's coming from behind.
Everyone has long injury lists, but every coach pretends that they're the only one with injury lists. It's the same old thing.
Tables are tightening up, it's squeaky bum time across the rugby world is what it is. Anything else to wrap up this weekend, mate? What have you enjoyed about your weekend in Munster and Limerick?
I like how chatty people are in this corner of Ireland. Perhaps it's all of Ireland, but I think they're known for having the worst weather, but the sort of sweetest spirits. It doesn't hurt to walk around and see this everywhere you go. Just water everywhere.
That's the River Shannon behind you.
There's so many walking trails, little wee mountains. I wouldn't call them mountains, probably, with nice hills. And I think there's a deeply held appreciation of rugby. Rugby runs through a lot of people's stories. This is not a place you have to do a marketing campaign, for example. Please support your local team. It's like the local team is your cousin, and he just opened a pub, and that pub celebrates your uncle, and so it's very much in the family. It's great. It's great to walk around here.
Yeah, cool. No, that's good. I look forward to hearing more about it. There's been pictures flooding my WhatsApp all weekend, which has been pretty cool. I feel like as always, I'm there with you. But that is the Weekend Post-Mortem behind us. Tell us what you think right here on the 8-9 Combo YouTube channel. And a shout out to everyone who is starting to leave comments there. There's a real little community building on the YouTube channel, which is fantastic. And we absolutely jump on and reply whenever we can as well. So leave a comment if you can. Leave a comment as well if you're listening on Spotify. Or you can hit us up by finding and following the 8-9 Combo on Twitter, on Blue Sky, and obviously on YouTube as well. And you can share us as far and wide as you can. Leave us a rating and review. It all helps as well. Harry and I remain on the socials in our usual places at Harry Baldy Jones and at BMC Sport. This is the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed in a rugby podcast. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones, and we'll be back in your ears in just a few days' time for another great rugby chat with Crusaders CEO Colin Mansbridge.
Come feck and play with us. That was Limerick.
Yeah, it was.